Ukraine. It's a name we hear every day. But what does it actually mean? For many, it's a mystery, a name tied to headlines and conflict. But the story of this name is a journey through more than 1,000 years of history, struggle, and survival. So why is Ukraine called Ukraine? Is it really just a borderland? The answer is far more complex and reveals the soul of a nation. Let's unravel the story behind the name. To find the origin, we have to travel back in time. The word Ukraine comes from the Old East Slavic term Ukraina. If you look at its historical roots, yes, it did mean borderland, frontier, or land on the edge. In medieval Europe, naming places based on their geography was common. Ukraine was situated on the edge of major powers, making it a natural frontier, but this wasn't an insult. Back then, borderlands were dynamic places, centers of trade, crucial defense zones, and melting pots of culture. The earliest written records of Ukraina pop up in chronicles from the 12th century, describing the frontier territories of a powerful medieval state, Kyivan Rus. And this is where Ukraine's identity truly begins. From the 9th to the 13th century, Kyivan Rus was a powerhouse in Eastern Europe. Its capital, Kyiv, the same Kyiv that is Ukraine's capital today, was a beacon of culture, commerce, and religion. It was here, in 988, that Christianity was adopted, forever shaping the spiritual and cultural landscape of the region. Today, Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus all trace their historical lineage back to Kyivan Rus, but Kyiv was its heart, its core. When Mongol invasions shattered the state, its lands were splintered. Kyivan Rus declined, and for Ukraine, a long, arduous struggle for its own identity and independence began. After the fall of Kyivan Rus, the lands of modern-day Ukraine became a fiercely contested battleground. Imagine being caught between giants. Parts of Ukraine fell under the rule of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the Ottoman Empire, the Crimean Khanate, and later, the mighty Russian Empire. Because Ukraine was the geographical crossroads between East and West, its territory was constantly fought over. It was during this turbulent period that the name Ukraina became more common. It perfectly described a land that was always on the edge of someone else's empire, a frontier that was never fully free, but whose spirit was never, ever fully conquered. Despite centuries of foreign rule, the Ukrainian people held on tight to their culture. Their language, their vibrant traditions, their folklore, all of it survived, passed down from generation to generation. And out of this crucible of resistance, one of the most iconic chapters of Ukrainian history was born, the rise of the Cossacks. The Cossacks were fiercely independent warrior communities who roamed the vast steppes of Ukraine. They cherished freedom, self-governance, and a unique form of democratic equality. During the 16th and 17th centuries, these legendary fighters rose up against foreign domination, carving out their own semi-independent state, the Cossack Hetmanate. For Ukrainians, the Cossacks became enduring symbols of national pride and an unbreakable will to be free. Even when their autonomy was eventually crushed by the Russian Empire, the idea of a free and sovereign Ukraine, inspired by the Cossacks, never died. Under the rule of the Russian Empire, the very identity of Ukraine was suppressed. Imperial authorities actively discouraged the name Ukraine, preferring the term Mala Russia, or Little Russia. This was a deliberate attempt to frame Ukraine not as a separate nation, but as a minor, subordinate part of a larger Russian world. The Ukrainian language was banned from schools, publishing, and public life. Cultural expression was systematically restricted. It was an attempt to erase a nation's identity. But it didn't work. A generation of writers, poets, and thinkers kept the flame of Ukrainian identity alive. For them, the word Ukraine was transformed. It no longer meant a borderland. It meant homeland. It became a declaration of a distinct national soul, a name to be cherished and fought for. The 20th century brought even more turmoil. Ukraine was incorporated into the Soviet Union, a period that brought rapid industrialization but also unimaginable suffering. The Holodomor, horrific, man-made famine engineered by the Soviet regime in the early 1930s, killed millions of Ukrainians. It was a targeted act of genocide, aimed at breaking the back of Ukrainian peasant resistance and national consciousness. Throughout the Soviet era, the name Ukraine existed on the map, but true independence was a distant dream. The culture was once again suppressed, forced underground. But it survived quietly, resiliently, waiting for its moment to re-emerge into the light. That moment finally came in 1991. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, Ukraine declared its independence. For the first time in centuries, the Ukrainian people were masters of their own destiny. The blue and yellow flag was raised over a sovereign nation. Today, the name Ukraine has shed its old meaning completely. It no longer signifies a borderland or a frontier belonging to someone else. It represents a sovereign, independent nation with its own rich language, vibrant culture, and undeniable identity. Modern Ukrainians see their country's name not as a marker of being on the edge, but as a powerful symbol of resilience, strength, and the enduring fight for freedom. So the name Ukraine tells a profound story. It's a story of shifting borders and relentless struggle, but also of incredible survival and unwavering strength. From its origins as a medieval frontier to its status today as a proud, independent nation, Ukraine has proven that its identity can never be erased. It is no longer a land on the edge of other empires. It is a nation standing firmly at the center of its own history, writing its own future. Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into our world's fascinating history.